And moving on, we are going to jump into the Los Angeles Clippers, and we want to mention and welcome one of our patrons and loyal subscribers. We're going to welcome in Jake on the phone. Jake, you there?
How you guys doing?
Holy crap, this is so cool.
Oh my God, it's working.
First time we're doing this. We're doing pretty decent. Nikola Vucevic just dropped 41 points prior to this recording, so Nikola Vucevic showing that he's the number one in the NBA.
Absolutely. Straight up?
Jesus.
Straight up for Draymond. But we're going to jump into the first topic. Jake wanted to talk about the Lakers and Clippers game from Thursday, and we're going to jump into it. Clippers won 108-92, and we're going to jump into the Clippers side first. And looking at our predictions, at least on the fast break side, the Clippers were, at least I was the only person that picked the Clippers to make the playoffs. And I base this around the fact that Blake Griffin's still a great player. DeAndre Jordan, while he is very one-dimensional, he's very good at what he does. And also Pat Bev can bring kind of tenacity defensively, and Milos can bring a lot of, posh and
crafty
spice
passing and
crafty
offensive
passing.
looks.
So, Jake, looking at this, did you have the Clippers as a playoff team going into this season?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they'd be like a 5 to 8. I didn't think they would be probably not even a 5, probably like 6 to 8. But I think like the overlooked piece a lot with their team is Gallinari, and I don't think Gallinari is a 1 scorer, maybe even a 2, but he gets hot at random times during the season. Like I remember when he first came over in the Melo trade for the Knicks, he was like one of the biggest pieces in the entire trade. And he was supposed to like almost carry the franchise, which obviously he can't carry an entire franchise, but he definitely. I think he still can put up 15 to 18 points a game. I mean, he didn't look really good yesterday.
Yeah, the poor shooting night, but
yeah, and I think that's something where you look at his poor shooting. I think that's going to settle in because Milos didn't have a great night as well. But looking at Gallinari and talking about that overlooked piece, because I think you bring up a great point. Last 2 years, averaging around 19 and 18. I think he could still do this on this Clipper team. I mean, Blake obviously took the front and the load of that offense last night, putting up 29 points. DeAndre did his thing, grabbing 24 boards. But at least one thing that I want to bring up and ask you, Dave, is do you think that not only Gallinari, but kind of these bench pieces can be enough for this team? Because you look at it, obviously, Lou Will was a guy who competed for the sixth man. Yeah. Last year, you look at Wesley Johnson's been decent. Austin Rivers had a terrible night. But do you think the bench is deep enough for them to kind of make a playoff run?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a good balance because you have those guys who can pop off on any given night. Between Austin, Lou Williams, both of those guys I have faith in. I don't think they're going to be like cold all. I mean, it was one game. I'm not going to extrapolate too much out of it, but both of those guys have proven that they can go off. Austin Rivers had the 1 month of extremely great success at the end of last year. Lou Williams consistently an amazing bench scorer. Pat Beverly, phenomenal game. I think showing everybody that he's not just that one-dimensional defensive player. He really is an all-around great point guard. Milos changing up. I think they have enough playmakers with the ball in their hand to make this work. The question with the Clippers always comes back to Blake Griffin's health. Blake Griffin has been a great player at times, but it's at times, it's not the whole season because he always gets injured.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say one game I'm locking him in the playoffs, but he's 1 for 1. Give him his credit. He was definitely looked better than I expected without Chris Paul out there to direct traffic.
Yeah, and
that was surprising.
You look at his stat line, 29 points. I know that's obviously more to a game than a stat line, but 29 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. If he does that for you, he's going to be a force out there. And if he brings that to you, he's easily number 1. But Jake, I want to go to you because you mentioned in the DMs that were going back and forth, and you also mentioned it when we hit you up before we started recording, that you weren't a big Blake fan, but this game kind of changed your mind. What was it about this game that kind of brought you over to the Blake side?
Yeah, I mean, he was always like that. I always thought he was good, but I didn't think he was like a superstar. But I thought he was always like one-dimensional. But a couple years ago, he started out like adding a mid-range jumper, and then yesterday he was 3 of 6 from 3. I mean, I don't know where that came from, but he was handling the ball more. Like he was literally taking ISO situations during the game. Like I didn't expect that at all, to be honest. And if he can continue to do that for the rest of the season, I don't see why not. They can't make the playoffs.
Yeah, and
can't make the playoffs.
Looking at Blake and kind of going off your point and at least talking about his ability ISO. I mean, he is, at least when he came out back in 2009, he was one of the most athletic players in college, and he went number 1 for a reason. I mean, Blake Griffin coming out of college, he was fantastic. Kind of to Dave's point, he just was never healthy enough, never been healthy enough, at least to be that player consistently. And I mean, he came in averaging 22 points per game, playing 38 minutes, playing a whole season in his rookie year. And yeah, he had to take a lot of that load early on, but he put up a stat line of 22, 12, 3 assists and around like a block and a half a block and about a steal a game. So I mean, Blake, obviously has the health concerns, but I feel like obviously showing what he did early on in his career without Chris Paul doing what he did with Chris Paul, then kind of like you said, Jake, developing his game, I think that Blake Griffin probably has been overlooked and one of the most overlooked players for a while, because I think we look at our power forward rankings coming into this year. I think he was really low. I think you guys had him below Kevin Love.
Yeah, well, I had Kevin Love as my two-man, though, to be fair.
What do you mean?
For power forward, I think Kevin Love was my second best power forward.
Oh, okay.
So Blake was still top 5, but I think he does kind of get mixed in that much because it was always Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin. It was that three-man squad was the Clippers' identity for so long. And yeah, I think we probably did overlook him, but I think it's a weird case of like addition through subtraction with this Clippers team. By removing Chris Paul and adding in a couple more role players, you're able to see more out of Blake Griffin. You're able to see more out of DeAndre Jordan and stuff that we haven't gotten to see from Blake in years. I'm hoping to see consistently this year. Like you said, him being more dominant, running the ISO, being able to be more ball dominant. And I'm excited for that because it's something that we hadn't really seen. Now we had another shooter on the outside with Danilo. Like, this seems like a really balanced team on paper. And they've got some excellent bench scoring. And honestly, I think it's just a weird, well-rounded way that they changed their team from, Chris Paul focused. I want to say focused, but the ball ran through Chris Paul. The offense ran through him. And all of a sudden, now you have this balanced attack where 1 through 5, you feel really good about it.
Jake, did you want to mention something about that?
Well, I was just agreeing. Yeah, I mean, I think they were extremely lucky because Chris Paul literally could have just left them. But instead, they got, I don't know how many players it was. They got a crap ton.
Yeah, they got Pat Bev, they got Decker, Harrell they got from them, and then I think Lou Will. Did Lou Will come over in that trade? Or they said no, they got Lou Will.
I'm not sure which one that was.
And then Pat Bev. Yeah, I mean, they got about 5 or 6 players in that trade. And it was a brilliant trade from Jerry West. I think that's something that, we mentioned Doc Rivers' struggles, at least with the Clippers, and not being able to get over that hump.
Yeah.
But I think bringing in Jerry West is something that I think is probably going to be underlooked. I think it's the reason why they're going to make the playoffs, because Jerry West kind of changed the culture in Golden State. Obviously, they were, they still had the players there. I mean, Steph was still there, Clay was still there, and Draymond was still there when Jerry West came over, but he really took them to the next level along with Steve Kerr. And I feel like Jerry West might not be able to do that at the same level as Golden State, obviously, but I think he could at least take them to, remaining a consistent playoff team. And one thing that I saw with the Clippers is they have the ability, at least what we saw in that first game against the Lakers. And the Lakers are a young team. The Lakers are kind of a weaker team, just physically.
Might be a little punching bag.
Yeah, I mean, physically, they're a weaker team out there. Brandon Ingram's a stick. Lonzo's a stick. Brook Lopez for a big. He's, jelly out there. But still, I feel like the Clippers can kind of have an identity where they are at least physical, because DeAndre's a force. Blake's a force. Pat Bev showed that he's a force defensively and can at least kind of, trash talk up and down. Do you see that, Jake? Do you think that, maybe the Clippers won't take exactly a Memphis role, but they will probably be a better Memphis and what Memphis has been to the NBA and at least the Western Conference?
I mean, yeah, I kind of could see it. I mean, they're definitely going to be.
Am I just off my rocker?
You can tell if he is.
I could kind of see it. I don't really see it because obviously the Grizzlies always had a good guard like Mike Conley to play. I don't really think they have a Mike Conley level guard, but I do think Blake Griffin is way better than Zach Randolph. So I mean, I don't know.
That's a fair assumption.
I don't know about Jordan and Gasol, but Jordan's a lot more one-dimensional. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I see the Grizzlies.
All right, that's fair. Maybe I'm off my rocker.
I think you're maybe stretching a little thin.
Okay,
because this is a team that. Here's the thing with the Grizzlies.
I was at least thinking physical team. The last physical team we had in the Western Conference was the Grizzlies, and I just think that exactly not spitting image because
they're physical, they're intense, and that's why I like is they play up for that game. You could tell Pat Bev went out there on a mission, and I mean not only did he but everyone on the court for the Clippers raise the level of intensity. They went out there to prove a point, to really show something, and honestly, I even saw defense out of guys like I didn't expect to see that level of defense. The thing for me is just, if they are that physical, the question then becomes, is that play style going to work for them against the top teams in the West? Can this compete? Because, like you said, they went up against the Lakers in that first game. Lakers are obviously expected to be like probably a bottom 3 team in the West this year. So it's what can they do against playoff teams? And that's where do you think this team will land against those kind of teams?
Well, and not only playoff teams, but also like teams like the Pelicans, because
that's a playoff team.
But at least, thank you, Jake. I don't know what Dave's been smoking with the Pelicans, but looking at the Pelicans, at least like more of a physical team, where you look at DeMarcus and Anthony Davis, it's going to be interesting to see what Blake and DeAndre can do. I think that at least what the Clippers are going to do against top teams like the Rockets, Warriors, and Thunder are going to go inside, and they're going to try to beat them up, and they're going to use Blake. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how Draymond plays Drake. Draymond plays Blake, and I'm mixing up. I'm combining those guys. And how the Rockets kind of handle that if they're just going to push the tempo and try to tire those guys out. And then OKC, Melo isn't a stalwart down
Right.
low. I mean,
Right.
you could abuse Melo at least at that 4 position if he's on Blake. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think that they're going to play physical against them, and I think they're going to play physical against a lot of teams. But even then, they can kind of switch it up, and I think you can bring this back up, Jake, is with the Gallinari situation, and at least with their bench, you look at Rivers, you look at Lou Will,
Yep.
and you look at Sam Decker. These are kind of guys that are quicker players, up-tempo players, guys who played on the Rockets before. I think that they have a kind of a nice mixture between force and then also at least a bit of speed out there. And that's
Right,
what I really
because
like about
to
the
mix
Clippers.
on the other hand, you have Wes Johnson still, and that's the thing I like.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know about Wesley Johnson. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I think he still provides
all right.
some quality off the
Yeah,
bench.
he's all right.
I think that the one guy that I'm surprised you didn't mention, Dave, was Thornwell. But
I love Thornwell, but it's his first year. I know he's older than every other rookie, but it's his first
He
year.
shot 100%.
Yeah, can't argue with that.
Went 1 for 1 at 3 points. To wrap this up, Jake, you're on board with the Clippers and the Clip Show making the playoffs, right?
Yeah, they're out in the first round, but they're in the playoffs.
Hey,
I'll take it.
we got one in.
Dave, are you buying in the Clippers as a playoff team?
Not yet. 1 out of 1 for Blake. I'll give him his credit. But there's a lot more games. There's 81 more to go this year, and if he plays in more than 70 of them, yeah.
I think Blake's going to get more than 70. I think that the Clippers can be a playoff team. I think Blake now and DeAndre have shown that they can go physical on teams. I think Pat Bev brings that as well. But then, like we kind of brought up in this, Milos kind of brings some skill and some speed.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Decker kind of brings some speed. Austin Rivers brings some speed, and Lou Will brings some speed. So I think that they can switch it up on teams. I think that they're pretty fundamentally sound as well. I think that's something that really plays into their favor. But Jake, we're gonna have you stick around. We're going to go to the Los Angeles Lakers. But first, let us know what you think in the comments down below of the Clippers. Are the Clippers going to be a playoff team?